Hey, what's up, black people? Welcome to another episode with your boy Muck the Empath, along with my co-host and player partner, Killa the Conscious King.
How y'all doing this evening? I hope everybody's doing well.
Talking definitely, man. Hey, I'm glad that whoever is here, man. We really appreciate you. If you are in the Texas area, Dallas, Fort Worth, which most of our listeners are from the area, man. We've had a winter storm down here that has derailed a lot. We had a lot of people lose electricity, water, pipes busting, major wrecks and car wrecks, and we lost a lot of people through this winter storm. So we're sending prayers out and love and hopefully peace to all of our people out there that have been affected by this winter storm. But those who are with us tonight were able to come. Man, great to have you guys here, man. Join the conversation about talking black people, talking to black people about being black. So welcome. I don't care what platform you come in on, YouTube, if you watch on Facebook Live, Twitch, it doesn't matter. But we're hoping that you've downloaded the Media Room 360 TV app. It's our own platform started by Miss Shawnee Scott, black owned, woman owned for the culture. So if you don't already have the app, it's free. Go to your Play Store, go to your App Store, download the Media Room 360 app. You can catch other shows. What's some of the shows they can catch, Killa?
Oh, you got Big Bing's Break Room. Just went off. Shawnee Scott and Mails on the MIC in the morning. Recipe for conversation with Antoine Antoinette. Let's Get It Radio. I mean, the content is growing, and obviously, talking black with Muck and Killa. So those are some of the lineup. Still Black History Month. What it do?
Yeah. Man, it's all good, man. Hey, bro. We trying to make it, man. I'm over here. Everything's been shut down. We ain't been moving around. I ain't been able to see my barber, man. Kiwi Cuts down there. As my barber in Irving Mall down there. So y'all need a cut. You happen to be in Irving, go to Salon 504 in the mall downstairs by the fitness center, man. Holla at Kiwi Cuts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I need to holler at him as soon as I can, man. It's been rough over here.
Good young man. That's a good young man right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is Black History Month, and you tune into the latest edition of the Muck and Killa Talking Black podcast. This is where we discuss the elements of current events and share stories of our trials and our triumphs. Today, we're having a conversation on the topic of labor, and this is the fourth area of people activity. And as you know, in the past podcast, we start off with representing Neely Fuller and defining his thoughts on the subject in the form of a series of suggestions. So, Muck, did you check out the Uber situation this week? That they lost in the Britain's Supreme Court ruling today, actually, that those Uber drivers are determined employees of the company.
Oh, okay. Oh, so was Google? I mean, you saying this Uber, right?
Yeah, they suffered a major defeat in one of its most important markets today when the Britain Supreme Court ruled that they could threaten their future already unprofitable company of drivers to be classified as workers entitled to vacation time.
Yeah. I didn't hear about that, but hey, it don't surprise me, boy. Them capitalists is not trying to pay them workers, man. They trying to figure out a way not to pay them workers. That labor is a big cost, man. So they going to court to figure out how not to get the workers their money, man. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Well, I mean, it's all a part of this gig economy, and the gig economy. And it's basically a labor market characterized by, short-term contracts and freelance work as opposed to permanent jobs.
Yeah.
So it's a whole new, different type of labor. And they won their first battle in the stream in the war.
Yeah. So basically now Uber has to treat those gigs like employees. Now Uber got to pay for those people Social Security and and other Medicare benefits, which they wasn't trying to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why they was labeling them people as, they weren't labeling them people as employees, them gig drivers and Uber. Yeah, so that's a big case for the unions, for the laborers.
Right. Yeah. In the Supreme Court in Britain ruled unanimously in their favor. So they win for those drivers. And again, you know, it could be a setback for Uber because they've been able to beat back other attempts at forcing it to change their business model and how it treats its drivers, including, you know, the defeat in November of a California law that would have forced these gig economy companies to make changes similar to those being forced by the British court ruling. So,
so they ain't made it to America, but that's a big case to make it where it happened here.
Right.
So it's more than likely it's gonna happen here.
Yeah. What's next is the question.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But what is labor though? We're sitting here, you know, I mean, you know, me and you sit here and talk about this kind of stuff all the time, but let's bring our people into it and get to talking black. Well, what is labor? I guess I can define that.
Yeah, let's define it. What is the dictionaries and say about it?
Basically, it says labor is the use of energy or the expenditure of a physical or mental effort, especially when difficult or compulsory.
Okay.
You know, another part of that would be the services performed by workers for wages as distinguished from those who are given by entrepreneurs for their profits.
Oh, so laborers are people that work for wages versus entrepreneurs who work for profit. So those two, you got entrepreneurs who work for profit, and you got employees and labor that works for wages.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and so my question to you is that why is that important? Why is, you know, based on this system, why do they need labor? You know, and how did this all start out? You know, what systems began this kind of, you know?
Yeah. So if you've seen the episode that we did on economics,
yeah.
If you haven't seen, go back and check that previous episode on economics. We talked about economic systems in there. So a capitalist system, we talk about capitalist system, and we're talking about a socialist system, different types of governments. The one thing that both of these governments and economic systems need is a whole bunch of people to work for them, whole bunch of labor. And that's where we come in. That's where you come in. So everybody in the system, they need to try to create as a labor force. So the education system, the schooling, all the training primarily is set up for you to learn how to be a worker.
Right.
And notice they don't teach entrepreneurship in public school.
Right.
For the most part. That's not a base curriculum. So the base curriculum kind of teaches you industry and how to be a worker, how to be a laborer. So that's how they divide the classes of people up, laborers versus business owners.
Right. So, I mean, what were the first systems that, I mean, we talked about the plantation system. Tell us a little bit about how that works and why that, you know, labor, how they correlate or relates to labor.
Okay. All right. So let's it's good that you set that up. So we talked about the capitalist system versus the socialist system. Well, we know that America is a capitalistic country. We have a free market capitalistic system, right?
Right.
Now, within that system, there is different ways to do capitalism. And we had two traditional ways. One in the North, which was industrial, where the capitalists build railroads, they build steel mill, the steel products, and they had factories, and they were providing roads and stuff. That's where the capitalists were setting up businesses. Well, in the South and the Southern states, it was more agricultural business, and they set up a business where they would sell textiles with plantations, and they had a plantation system. It was a way to make the money. Now, both of those systems, whether you're in the northern economy or the southern economy, they both need workers. Now, the South had an advantage because they was getting free labor from African slaves. So they
Right.
weren't paying for their labor, which was making the states in the North get mad because they're like, how can we compete when they playing with free labor and we got to pay for our labor? Now, where was the North getting its labor from? Immigrants. They were bringing
Ellis Island.
European immigrants over here to work,
Right.
to be labor. And the southern states would transport, they were slave trading and bringing slaves and capturing people that was already over here to work for free.
Right.
So
What
that's
about
why
those
that's,
plantation systems though? Like if you go back in the beginning, this whole system is, built on free labor, right?
yeah,
We
definitely.
had a slavery, dehumanizing experience in this country, where people were maimed and raped and were treated very badly in this what they call the Mayafa, or the Great Tragedy, the transatlantic slave trade, in the beginning of chattel slavery, and that turned into the plantation systems. Those plantation systems then, generated the revenues for those plantations a lot of the time.
And the whole state in the states.
In the states, because states' rights. So, they became dependent on that revenue, and they didn't want to give it up.
No.
Just like now, I mean, nobody wants to give up things they already have. They become accustomed to living a certain lifestyle. So when we start talking about racism, they're like,
yeah,
there's no racism.
I don't see no racism out here. It's just the way it is.
That's
the way it's always been.
And that's why we're having the show, is because we're trying to make sure we talk about these topics and, share a little bit about the history behind what's going on.
Yeah. So when I was doing some research, I was looking at the Civil War and the Reconstruction era, and they were talking about the right before, 2 weeks before the Civil War actually happened. They actually started the gunfighting. The president, the vice president of the Confederate, I think his name was Stephen Anderson or Alexander, something like that. We can look it up. We can look it up later. But yeah, he made a speech which was called basically the Cornerstone Address. This was one that set up the ideology of the Confederate States. Now we got the Confederate States. The first 7 that succeeded was Texas, who is South Carolina, who is it, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, who is it, Tennessee, and Arkansas, or was it did I say Louisiana?
I'm not sure, but
I think that was it. I got
about Alexander Stephens.
Alexander Stephens, yeah, correct. So he was the vice president of the Confederacy. He made this address basically saying the reason why we doing what our slave trading, what we're doing, why it works, is because the Negro is inferior and basically deserves to be subservient to the white man. And that's what they were standing on. Those southern states were standing on that ideology. So that's what they went to war with, the mindset of, hey, we have the right to have these slaves because the nature and the natural order of things is white people over black people, and that's the way it is, and that's nothing we can do about it. So that's what they went to war with, the mindset of. And the North. So I got to thinking about this too, because they had slavery in the South, and the Confederate States were the ones that rebelled. They were rebel states, so those were the only states that had slavery. Well, the northern states already were free states, right? So how was their relationships in the North with black people? With black people, were they just getting along all cozy up in the North just because it was free? You see what I'm saying? Like, what was the relationship between black and white people in those free states? And from my recollection, my study in the history, that there was still racial segregation, Jim Crowism. I mean, they were not Jim Crowism, but they weren't really hanging people, but they would systematically keeping those black people out of those jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you're on
because
after the war, they put the 13th Amendment, and they came up with this to make the Confederates feel better.
Yeah,
come up with this concept of a lost cause.
yeah,
And that's when you started to see the show, The Birth of a Nation, where they started to try to change the narrative in the minds of those Confederate sympathizers.
yeah.
And they were obviously trying to and these were for the sons of the Confederate veterans who wanted to continue to protect and support those Jim Crow laws.
Yeah.
Back in the early 60s and throughout that time frame.
Yeah.
And just perpetuate the mindset, and that's what led to this insurrection. It's funny how
how it all comes circle. Yeah.
And people don't realize that the people that led the insurrection are the sons and grandsons and great grandsons of those Confederates who lost the war. I mean, it's just we got to understand this because it affects how we work together as people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, man. If you think about it, and I'm always trying to look at somebody else's viewpoint of how they could be looking at it. And we grew up in the South, so I'm from Texas. One of those section states. So it's real important to a lot of people that I know about the Confederacy. You know what I'm saying? Like they really, like some of their parents and grandparents fought and died in that war. So that alone would make them be connected to, the whole situation. But but a lot of that stuff had to do with the labor. Free labor is free labor. Now, all that other stuff, we gonna make sure that we keep these laborers, and they just happen to be black. So, matter of fact, we just gonna enslave all black people, and that way, say the Lord said it was good, so we can keep that free labor. And what's like, so the North is saying this. The North is saying, wait a minute, we're trying to compete. Like the states are individual states. Like Texas and California got two different laws, and New York, right? But everybody's competing for people to come here. Like Texas has got one of the biggest economies going right now. We're hot. So people are moving here. Labor is moving here. And that's what Texas is promoting. Labor, come here. You can make you can make a life for yourself. We got jobs. We got other stuff you can do here. Well, Illinois can't say that right now because people are fleeing Illinois because they're losing jobs because the factories are up and closed and moving to other places. So now the people are going to go where the jobs are. The labor market. Think about that. Right. We talk about a market. New York's a big market. Dallas a big market. Chicago's a big market. Houston's a big market. What are they selling in the market? Because to my knowledge, that's what a market is, where a place where you buy, sell, and trade goods and services. So if you ain't buying and selling nothing, you're being bought and sold as labor.
Right. If you don't know what the product is, you are the product.
You are the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But another good point, in the story of labor that we're talking about is that, because it's Black History Month, it's good for us to bring up the Martin Luther King sanitation workers strike that happened in April of '68. Yeah. Basically, it was a struggle that exposed the need for economic equality and social justice that he was doing on behalf of the Poor People's Campaign. Basically, those garbage workers in Memphis or collectors were some people died. They were crushed to death in a malfunctioning truck, and that brought attention, and that's why he was there, and that's when he was actually assassinated. That was his last act. So, the city's response to those latest events had a long pattern of neglect in its abuse of about 1,300 Black employees. From the Memphis Department of Public Works. They went on strike, and that was led by a few organizers that made that a pivotal point in time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I've been as a worker, I've been a laborer. I've been in a union. So, as an NFL player, the players are in the union. So it's the organized labor. We're the labor force for the capitalists who are the owners. The owners
Right.
own it. We're their labor force as
Right.
the players. The players unionized in an organization to make sure we try to negotiate the best working conditions we can work in with these owners. So when you see the football go on strike and they negotiating the CBA, which is the agreement between the players and the owners, how we split up the money. Yeah, it's the bargaining agreement. And that's the one thing that labor unions can do, and they got the constitutional right to do, is sit down and negotiate the terms of their employment, which is a big thing. And a lot of business owners don't want that to happen. They don't want labor unions around because they don't want nobody negotiating how much they're gonna pay them. You know what I'm saying? If I can just say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, tell me about the Homestead strike that occurred on Carnegie Steel's company in 1892, and those 1800 strikes that were going on, and what ended up happening way back then.
Yeah,
if you
Oh, so if you talk about you talked about the 8 people that died during the sanitation worker strike with Dr. King, but
no, I'm talking about
no, I'm saying that, but you had mentioned that, and I'm saying that is just a long line of many different scenarios where workers were striking for better working conditions. Like they was trying to get 8 hours a work day. Like a 40-hour work week and an 8-hour work day is something that the unions fought for. Like they used like child labor laws and all those kind of things. This is what the workers got together and said, hey man, we ain't gonna we got to make sure that we can get some rest at home, you know what I'm saying, and make a little more money. So a lot of these strikes that they were going on to get better wages, man, the owners would just come out there and try to force them back to work with guns. So it's been a lot of massacres where workers got killed, like the Carnegie Mellon massacre, basically, where people were just striking because they didn't want to go to work in those conditions, and they said they pick it in and get killed.
Yeah, it was
it was gun battle, man. That's how tense the worker labor relationship is with the owner. And we're still seeing that dynamic here today in our politics.
And ironically, those steel workers back then, they lost the strike.
Yeah. It seems like the owners and the capitalists be winning a lot of these battles.
Well, I mean, you got all the resources, and you're almost beat before you get started.
No, definitely. But except for the one thing that the unions and the laborers have is numbers. They got the people. They are the people. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think some capitalists let me say this. Some white supremacists don't use a capitalist system. They use a socialist system to control. See, white supremacy, whether it's capitalism or socialism, they're both economic systems of white supremacy.
Because white supremacy is the ultimate system.
It's the ultimate system. It's just where in capitalism, the individual person or the corporation can own and get the profits. Well,
Neely Fuller says that when there's a difference between looking and seeing. And that in this country, we're trained not to see racism. So it's always, if you bring it up, people say, well, no, that doesn't exist. Why are you talking about that? What's the problem? Aren't you happy? Don't you have enough?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of whisk it away, or, oh, that's conspiracy theory. Why is it that people can't have an intelligent discussion on this topic? And really, it comes back down to education.
Yeah.
Which is a cornerstone in this thing that we call labor. Because I got a quote I want to share with you.
Let me hear it.
Before we go any further, and it's.
Let me hear it.
I'm gonna see if you can guess who it is.
All right.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Who said that?
I'm gonna say it's Black History Month. I'm gonna say Booker T. Washington.
That's actually not close at all, but I'll give you Nelson Mandela.
Okay. Hey, that was pretty close. That was close, man.
Hey, okay. I mean, it's a different continent. That's why I couldn't say it was close. But
I got you.
But I'll give you the effort, though. You had the effort there. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, that education itself our education system, especially the public education system, is quote unquote designed to prepare you for the workforce, or that. Basically, that's it, right? That's what they're trying to get students prepared for their entry into the workforce. Now you can go a step further in the secondary, go to college and higher education that further prepares you to be in the workforce. But everything is preparing you to get to the workforce, because the labor is the engine that makes all of this stuff go.
Wow.
Because it don't matter if it's, like I said, it don't matter if it's what system it is, who owns it, the workers make the systems go.
Yeah. Why did those southern states leave the Union? Who were they trying to protect?
Man, they was trying to protect their way of life. I mean, they had an economy, and go back and watch economic episode. The economy, hold on, the economy is there to provide everything the people need and the resources. They had a slave-driven economy. If they stop that, they disrupt their whole economy. That means they ain't eating.
Yeah.
So
how big a business was it at that time? And do you know the dollar amount?
I don't know.
Billions of dollars at that time. For the time value money, it was $1 billion practice.
Yeah.
Slavery was at that time when the time value money was very low.
Yeah, you see how important labor is, because how much profits can you come up with if you don't have to pay your labor? That's big, that's huge.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
A big chess game.
No,
think about that?
I think it's definitely a chess game. It's hold up. It's several different chess games played at one time. Me and you play chess, and I've watched grandmasters play 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 games at a time blindfolded. So this is what's happening. There's a whole bunch of different chess games going at one time, and there's a few people playing them. And there's a lot of people not playing the game. They just pawns in the game. You're being moved around the chess piece. You've been moved around the chessboard and you don't know it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, think of that. Let me give an example of that. Let me give you an example of that. They moved us from Africa to the South to work.
Right.
When that was over, we migrated to the North to work. When we start getting into it with the whites about labor, we moved to the West to work. We're being moved around these boards to work. Yes. If you ain't in control of your own destiny and you need a job, the system is strategically placing you to work. For one, are you either working for the plantation system or you working for the bankers and the industry in the North? Either way, you're being controlled by one or the other if you're working.
This is true. Wow, that's powerful.
And they working together. Yeah, the plantation owners and the bankers in the North and the South, they was always working together. They just had a little disagreement about structure, and they sent our kids. They sent the kids and the babies to war to fight about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the North, the bankers in the North, they won. So they occupied the territory. They beat them in a war. We call it the Civil War. So the South is actually occupied territory by the North.
Yeah.
This is why the Confederate Army and the sons of the Confederate This is why they mad. This is why they stormed the Capitol, because the federal government, which is the union, is occupying the states in the South. And the states in the South don't want them here. They never wanted them here. They wanted to have individual state rights. They wanted to use the labor the way they wanted to use the labor. And the federal government and the other states said, no, y'all can't do that. So let me ask you this. If they was mistreating black people in the North anyway, what incentive did the northern states have to go to war with the South? Everybody was an independent state. Let's say, give me a northern state. Massachusetts didn't have slavery, right? They had already abolished slavery. Why would they go to war to end slavery? They had already ended it in each state individual.
Right.
So what was the incentive for the northern states to go to war with the southern states?
I mean, you know, based on what history said, it was a tax situation.
It was a tax situation. It was a money situation. It was a money. The South was making way too much money, and the North was saying, "Man, hey, we could be doing better if we had free labor. Y'all only doing that because y'all got free labor. I bet if we stop your free labor, yeah. I bet if we stop your free labor, I bet we could compete better. I bet we smarter than y'all if y'all didn't have that free labor." That's the North and the South dynamic. These are white boys arguing with each other. These Yankees versus country bumpkins. They just arguing amongst each other, and we the product that they trying to move around the chessboards.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when you look at traditional voting blocks, the white vote is typically split right in half.
Yeah,
and that's why what made the black vote so important.
That's what makes it important.
We vote in a block, and that's why there's always an attempt to disband black folks, whether it's through family or through political or education. South.
Yeah. Hey, so can I go through the story about the emancipation and whose responsibility the slaves were?
Right.
All right. So we got to understand, when we were enslaved as free labor, when we were emancipated, the slaveholders who owned us as property had to turn us over to the federal government. Now we were no longer property of the slaveholders. Now we become property of the United States government. And people like, I ain't no property. I'm free now. No, listen, you are property of the slaveholders, and you became citizens of the United States, which is another word for property. Citizens of any country are the property of that country. And if you don't believe me, try to get on a plane and go somewhere out of this country without a passport. You can't leave this country unless they let you. We're all prisoners of war. All citizens are prisoners of war in any structure like this. Because we can't come and go as we want. So we're all here for labor, unless you're a part of the capitalistic system. Unless you are a capitalist, you are a worker, a laborer.
All right. I'm going to take this time to say you've tuned into the Muck and Killa podcast. I'm Killa, that's Muck. And we want you to make sure you download the Media Room 360 app. It's on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Roku. Check out Shawnee Scott and Mails on the MIC in the morning.
Yeah.
Recipe for, go ahead, Muck.
Great stuff, man. No, it's great stuff. Great content, man. We're constantly trying to add more. Please support the channel. If you like what you're hearing, if you're entertained or whatever, you just want to share the information, please do. Hit the like button, subscribe button, send it to a friend if it's something valuable that we're adding to you.
Yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to chime in on the chat, and we'll try to answer your questions at the end of the show. Yeah,
definitely. I kind of figured, man, with everything that's going on, man, I didn't figure many people will be in tonight, man. People are out trying to take care of their families, man, and trying to get back on track from this winter storm, man. So Like I say, people, stay safe out there. Get your stuff in order, man. We understand, man, because it's been rough on us, but Godspeed to everyone out there. And for those who are listening at the show and spend time with us tonight, hey man, thanks for being here, and hopefully we're enlightening you and entertaining your spirit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you could use your soul power to empower yourself.
To empower yourself, yes, sir.
Yeah. So what else you got, man? I mean, what else on labor did you want to cover? This is a pretty good topic. Pretty lot of good information here we sharing tonight.
No, lot of good information, man. It's just
talking about Southern states, talking about emancipation, all those things. So
I want everybody to understand the connection. Once you understand how all of this stuff is connected, then you'll really see your place in the whole scheme of things. And we say that white supremacy is a global system. You know what I'm saying? So if you understand it didn't start that way. They built it from local levels. So these things are operating in small little pockets to create a global system. So if you understand how the labor market works, if you understand how the capitalist system works, if you understand how democracy works, then you'll kind of understand how your little situation is being impacted by this, and then you can make some changes that'll help yourself. So if you're understanding that if you either a capitalist or you either a laborer, and it's different levels of capitalism, and it's different levels of labor. You could be in management, you could be in, you could be the CEO, but if you're still an employee of a business, then you're considered a laborer.
All day long. So I mean, we laid out pretty good, building blocks of the perspective of what's going wrong and why it's important. Let's talk the solution. Let's talk black.
What
do we have to do to change our experience in this area of activity?
Yeah. So the very first thing is that the opposite of employee is owner, right? Either you're employee or owner, and they're using your energy in order to create profit for themselves. That's what entrepreneurs do. They use labor's energy in order to create profit for themselves. And you are the owner of your own energy. That's what you do own. So where you decide to work and what you decide to do is your natural human right and your ownership. So I want you to be mindful of where you're using that energy. That's the first ownership that you got to come to. You got to realize, man, if I don't like this job or I don't like this position, I have the ability and the energy to take it somewhere else and do something I would like to do. That's the first thing. You got to take ownership of your work, ownership of your energy and what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. I look at that and I say, okay, if you're an owner, then you're an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur, then you own your time and you use your ideas to create the life you want to live. So if you're a bookkeeper, you should be aiming to be an accountant. If you're a nurse, you should be aiming to be a doctor. And if you mow lawns, you should be aiming to be a landscaper.
Yeah.
We should always be trying to grow ourselves.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, right? I mean, it's just something that, for the community and betterment of those coming behind us, the millennials and the people behind the millennials, we owe to set a standard and set a certain way of life. And that's what I think Talking Black is about. Is making sure that we define for ourselves. And here's another quote I want to give.
Let me hear it, bro.
Defining myself as opposed to being defined by others is one of the most difficult challenges I face. That was said by Carol Moseley Braun, who was a senator for Illinois. She was first African American senator, a woman senator.
Woman senator. Yeah.
So in the Kamala Harris, she was the first African woman as a senator. So
Okay. Yeah, powerful words, man. Powerful words to live by. Yeah, it's the one thing, and like I said, it's okay if to be a work. If you want to work for somebody, you enjoy your job, and you want to spend your energy like that, man, enjoy yourself. But what we do have to understand is the American system of government and operation is set up for the capitalist. It's set up to benefit the business owner, and it's not set up to benefit the worker. So if you're catching hell at your job and it seems like you can't get ahead, and they taking the money before you get it, and they spending it, and they say they're gonna give it back to you at the end of the year, and you don't get as much back as you thought you was gonna get, and the IRS is still looking for you for some shit they say you owed them 10 years ago. If you're catching hell like that, you got to understand this part of the system.
Yeah, it's planned.
Yeah,
premeditated.
It's premeditated.
And so, what do you do? What do you do when before somebody hits you in the mouth?
Man, you first of all, you might want to cover up. And say, hey, Chris Rock said in Rush Hour when he got kicked, talking about which one of y'all kicked me. You know, you got to find out where them blows coming from, man. And that's what we're trying to do, man.
Well, yeah, protect yourself at all times, and that's what we're trying to do
at all times.
Sharing this information so you can protect yourself out there. And even if you're prepared, doesn't mean you're not going to be taken out. Anybody could be, mistreated at any time in this system. And that's just how they allow that to happen.
Say, you know what? What's funny to me? It's not even funny, but there's a war going on in the Middle East. Ever since I've been alive, there's never been peace in the Middle East. So that's been a war-torn country, region for years. And
decades.
Sometimes they're shooting, sometimes they're not. Right? Sometimes they're playing politics, sometimes they're not. Why don't we understand that that's happening here? Like, we are at war. We're in the middle of a war too, whether it's a peaceful political war or it's a violent, bloody war. Just like we had a war with Russia for years called a Cold War, where not a bullet was flying.
Right.
But we knew we was at war with them.
Right.
And Black people got to understand we are at war with the system of white supremacy in this country and across the globe. Everywhere where Black people are, they're at war with white supremacy. Not Black people only. Every person that's not white of any color is at war with people that think that they're white.
Yep.
And we got to understand how they playing the game. So, but the
you read that?
Money. Yeah. No, you're right. Sheree, it's about the money, and that's what it's always about, because the money funds the war. So every side get that cash because they got to pay people to go to war. Nobody's going to war for free. Unless you can make them a slave. Unless you can make them a slave. Where's the money go?
Where's it coming from?
Oh, it's coming from you. It's coming from labor. Hold on, man. I was thinking about this the other day. So if energy is work, right? Energy is labor. So you're using your energy and you go to work and you spend 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And at the end of all that energy that you spent, they give you some green pieces of paper called money, which represents all that energy you just spent, right?
In this system, yeah.
In for you, so now you're gonna take all this energy, this green energy of yours that you just used, and you're gonna go over here and you're gonna buy a Gucci bag with it, right? Now, and I'm not saying anything about that. I'm saying because hey, you did the work, you use your energy. If you wanted to spend it on a Gucci purse, or a bag, or a nice car, that's your business. But think about this. That person called Gucci had some Chinese person or some foreign person make that bag for 20 cents an hour. make all of them for 20 cents. And then they come back to you and sell you that bag for $1,200. That's your energy. And you just gave him $1,200 of your energy for some shit that cost him 20 cents to make. And here's the kicker. He didn't lift one red cent. I mean, he didn't lift a finger to get that $1,200. Everybody is working but the capitalists. And here's another thing. He didn't never even pay the Chinese dude. You know who paid the Chinese dude to make it? You did. Because here's what he went. The capitalists went to them and said, listen, if you give me this leather material over here and this paint, you know, and all these little trinkets and gold, I'm going to take that and I'm going to get these Chinese people to make it for me, and then I'm going to pay you later. You see that? So the capitalist ain't never used his own money to do none of this. All he was able to do was convince everybody to come together. And he was the one that walked away with all the profit. And he ain't used none of his energy. That's a cold lick.
Right.
That's a cold game.
That's a cold campaign.
That's a cold campaign. But hey.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but, you know, going back to these solutions.
Yeah.
This year in June of this year, we'll commemorate the 100-year time frame for the Tulsa massacre, which was described as the single worst incident of racial violence in American history. It was estimated to have claimed the lives of 300 people. The vast majority of those being Black, devastated a neighborhood that had basically grown over the previous 15 years to become one of the wealthiest enclaves of Black Americans in the country. Tulsa in general began to flourish around the turn of the 20th century thanks to a huge oil boom in Oklahoma. There also saw a major uptick in Black settlers around that time that led up to Oklahoma's 1907 statehood, where land was readily available. Goes on to talk about in 1906, a wealthy African American landowner named O.W. Gurley moved to Tulsa and bought 40 acres of land that he had opted to sell only to Black settlers. Gurley initially established himself through 80 miles of West Tulsa, where he claimed a plot of land. He became a principal at a local high school, ran a successful store for more than a decade, according to Forbes magazine. With the state's oil boom bringing newfound wealth to Tulsa in the early 1900s, Gurley moved to the city and bought the 40-acre plot that he and another entrepreneurs named Greenwood. So basically, he had a vision to create something for Black people, by Black people. And this was in the Hannibal Johnson's book, Black Wall Street, from Riot to Renaissance in Tulsa's historic Greenwood district. So as it being Black History Month, I'm going to end that with another quote, two quotes, actually.
Let me hear it.
I'll tell you who the first one is, and you can guess who the second one is. The first one is Fred Hampton. And basically, he said, we understood that politics is nothing but war without bloodshed. And war is nothing but politics with bloodshed. Firstly, he said, you can kill a revolutionary, but you cannot kill a revolutionary. You can jail a liberator, but you cannot jail liberation. And that was some very, very poignant quotes by him. The last one is, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And that was by Barack Obama.
I remember.
I'll say the last quote for another time, but I mean, you know, what do you think about those Tulsa riots and you know, how we could take a feather out of their cap to hopefully create a society where, as a group, are more self-sufficient and you know, can solve the problems of our day in our society, where there's vast disparities between people. Some people getting less time for similar crimes. Some people being shot when they get pulled over where others don't.
Yeah.
You know, wax eloquent, my brother.
Yeah. No. I've often wondered why I never seen a Black Wall Street in my era, because in our era, just growing up, because yeah, we know the massacre that happened, but they built all of this during slavery time, during a way worse economic racial climates. So yeah, they had the situation happen, but man, how were they able to do it? It's my question has always been, how did they do it? And let's do it again. And
Yeah,
then
no,
learn from what they didn't do. What didn't they know that they could fortify it around? And that's what we do. We ask the questions of how it failed. How did they do it? And then how did it fail? And then we start working on, okay, let's fix that and try it. At least try it. But I'm hearing too many people, that ain't gonna work. All they gonna do is come in and burn it down. All they gonna do is kill us over. They don't want us to have nothing. Yeah, they didn't want them to have nothing, but they was able to build it. So
well,
why can't we at least build it?
that's the thing. I mean, there's got to be some kind of need, and we all have a similar need, but we seem to not be able to understand that our need is that when you go to a bank, can't get a loan, or you go get denied somewhere, you can't rent an apartment.
Yeah,
that's because there's no representative ownership that looks like you.
yeah,
And what they saw in Tulsa, in my understanding of the history, was they understood the need to work together.
yeah.
They understood that when they're spread apart, they're less effective.
Yeah.
And there are still some flaws. And when we reenact Tulsa present day,
yeah.
There's some flaws that they had in terms of their structure and infrastructure that they could have.
Yeah. We can fortify around that. We can if we do it again, we can just say, okay, we need to fortify around that area that they didn't do. We know that going forward, we already know what they didn't do, what happened, and we need to strategize on not letting that happen again. But we should be building our own economic districts and communities where and like you said in the letter that he bought it and sold it and marketed it specifically to Black people.
Oh yeah,
never heard, like if you ask somebody, man, it's almost like if you say it's Black owned, it's more than likely they not gonna go. Even Black people.
Did it say if he made a profit or not?
No. No. Yeah, that wasn't the motive.
Yeah, that wasn't important.
That wasn't important of whether it made any money or not.
Sometimes we get distracted though. We start worrying about how much you're making on the deal versus understanding the bigger picture. In that we're all owners in this. We can create our own situation. We can hire our own people. We can make sure the police department doesn't shoot our kids, and we can ensure that there's laws in place that give us advantages. Not necessarily advantages, but competitive advantages. Because competitive advantage is always welcome in the capitalist world, right?
Yeah. One thing about white supremacy is they'll let you in and operate as long as you're operating like you know how to operate in the system. But even if you know how to operate in the system, there's still a black tax. You pay for more of everything dealing in the system.
Talk about I know we about to wrap this up in a minute, but and maybe this is for another show, but how the appraisal world devalues our properties and things of that nature. I think
Oh man. So this is okay. So when I was working in real estate and I was studying for my real estate test and to take the real estate exam again. So while I was doing it, like my company had a whole bunch of resources, old manuals and old courses and stuff and so I picked up like the 1957 for pre-test or something for like workbook to pass your appraisal test, right?
Right.
So the 1950 something edition of this book. So I started reading it because I'm trying to figure out how do you appraise something. And in the manual, in the book, it said that the presence of black people or color people automatically devalues the property. Yeah, that was in the book. So everywhere black people show up in this system of appraisal and valuation, just because you're there is that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you, but and that's coming from a soldier too. So he understands. He understands where the power is being wielded at. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they're
Yeah. You're right. You're right, Carlos. I'm with you. And they understand it and they respect it. But if you ain't got no power, they take over you. It's dog eat dog. If you can't stand up for yourself, they're gonna run over you. But if you stand up to it and show power and strength and have the leverage and resources to stand firm, then then they'll stand firm. And then becomes a waiting game.
That is in the people. Huh? So it's up to the people to solve for their problems.
The power is with the people, but the people got to be using that power to do something constructively for themselves. And the power to the people don't mean nothing if it's not being executed. That's the whole deal. We have to execute something as a unit. If there's oppression amongst black people, then we have to do something in order to alleviate that. And the first thing we need to know is where these blows coming from, so we can first orient ourselves. They coming. We ain't bobbing. We'll step behind. We'll step behind.
Right. I got one last quote for the night.
Let me hear you, bro.
You probably don't know this gentleman, but he's always got some powerful quotes. I get them every day on my LinkedIn page. But he said that slaves in the past were in chains. Today's slaves are in denial. George Fraser.
Wow.
Master networking. I met George. Yeah. He's a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful personality, but good guy from what I understand.
Nah, that was that, man. Yeah.
And wrapping up what we got to do tonight, but anything else you want to share, man? Anybody out there got any questions?
Yeah, man. Hey, man. Let's thank Carlos Lewis for chiming in. One of the regulars. Thank Sheree, Shanae, Trailer, my sister-in-law. Thanks for tuning in. Ryan Stewart. Shouts out to RYC Chief. He's always listening. Shout out to Ty Hosley. He's always listening. A lot of these brave hearts are out here listening and making it happen and chiming in, talking. So we appreciate all of you.
Braveheart Network coming soon.
Braveheart Network coming soon, man. Stay strong. Stay courageous, because the war is on. Whether you see it or not, we at war. Be brave, my friend.
You have tuned in to the Muck and Killa show. Go download the app, Media Room 360 on the platform. Check out Shani Scott and Males on the MIC in the morning. Recipe conversation with Antoinette. Big Binks Breakthrough.
Hot show.
Radio. Yeah. And Talking Black with Muck and Killa. This has been another good one, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, this nice, man. I think we waking people up, but we ain't waking them up. We shaking them up. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to get to strategizing, because these bullets flying. They flying literally and figuratively.
It can't be on you. It got to be in you.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. I appreciate you, my man. Yeah. All right, black people, stay strong. All right, Santina, have a good weekend.